Hello, welcome to this edition of the Energy Career Cycle. My name is Ayodeji Stephen once again, and I'm happy to have you here. Today, we're going to be discussing something critical, and we're going to be rounding up our series that was started on how to plan our career. And today, we're going to be speaking about developing a personal career plan. And this is very important because we think that it's going to give people a blueprint of what to do. And because of uncertainty, many people's career, they are not sure of what to do, even after gained all the training, after deciding what skills they would need to develop, after even deciding what roles they want to get to. But then in the journey of career, because it's a marathon and not a sprint, we need to be clear about how we would progress from one stage to another. And nobody's going to draft a career plan for you except maybe you are paying someone. However, today we're going to be dealing with that, how to do that. We also share information on how to get a template, and we believe that this will help anyone. Now, an important thing we're going to be doing today is translating knowledge into a personal roadmap, because as we have said over and over again, knowledge doesn't mean anything. It is knowledge that is used that then changes the trajectory of our career. Now, career planning is very important, and we did a bit of research before this episode, and we found out that on a global scale, 73% of people that are between the age of 18 to 26 are overwhelmed by options and economical certainty. This already shows you the uncertainty of people around your career. So a staggering 73% of people are uncertain about the career path to follow, how to progress in their career, and what to do. Now, we also looked at the millennials. 73% of people who are Gen Zs are uncertain about their career plan. So we also looked at, okay, for millennials, that is people between the age of 27 and 42, we found out that for those in the millennial category, 61% of them are uncertain and they are navigating career pivot and also seeking purpose. So there is a whole lot of lack of clarity in the job market today, in the career space. And what we are here to do is to help people in their career. That is why we have put together the Energy Career Cycle, especially for those in the energy space, and much more, even for those that are outside the energy space. We believe that the things that we are teaching here are able to change how people go about their career. Also, when we looked at Gen X, people that fall in that category, people between the age of 43 to 58, many of them, at least 47% of them, are dealing with mid-career reassessment and burnout. So you can think of the impact of this on people's mental health, their health also, outside of even mental, their overall health, and how this affects their confidence, their productivity, and how they play their part in the global economy. And when we looked at baby boomers, we saw that for those that are between the age of 59 to 77, 28% of them are currently focused on retirement, and they have planning on certainty when it comes to their retirement plans. So our work here is not just for young people, it also transcends into people that are maybe say Gen X, baby boomers, even the Gen Z, and even millennials alike. Now, when we did all of this survey, we now found out that, so we didn't do the survey, we gathered the data though. We found out that 70% of professionals feel unprepared for their career growth. And that means that there is a systemic challenge that needs to be dealt with. Now, what a roadmap then helps you to do is to move from the group of those that are uncertain to those that are certain. Right, and that's what we are talking about today. Now, one of the things a roadmap does for you is to identify your target roles. If you look at our past videos, we have explained how to identify your target roles, even the skills that you need to develop to fit into those target roles. We also explained it in our past videos. And a roadmap also helps you in understanding the required skills that you should build. We mentioned that also in our past videos. And also then to plan your actionable first steps, which we'll be speaking a whole lot about in today's episode. All right. Now, when you want to identify your target roles, just as a way of covering this over again, First, you pick 2 to 3 roles that you aspire in the energy or climate sector or in any sector you want to work on. Please, I want to ask for everyone watching us today, please watch our past videos. We went in depth on this, on how to do this. Now, when you're doing this, things that you are to consider is to consider your interest and your strength. You also consider the market demand for the role, and finally your current skills. So what your current skills, why you have to consider your current skills is that your current skills will show you the gap between where you are and where you want to be, and then from there you can track the skills that you can develop. Also, it also shows you your already existing capacity that you can leverage for the role that you want to get into. So it's a roadmap in that sense. Now, as an action tip for this, please write down 3 top dream roles that you want. Now, don't filter. This is not the stage to filter. This is the stage for you to be, but I'll put it as be ambitious, right? So this is not the stage for us to filter. So write down the top 3 roles that you want to get into. All right, so the next thing is that you then map required skills. So you identify the technical skills. We have gone in depth on this in our past videos. You identify the technical skills. Take, for example, skills in modeling, skills in data analysis. Second, you identify soft skills, maybe skills in leadership and communication. In one of our past videos, we spoke a lot about how important soft skills are. They are the skills that separate foot soldiers from leaders. Very important. Please watch our past videos. And also, we then say the next thing is that you have to then rate your proficiency. That is, where am I currently? Where do I want to get to? What are the gaps between that? And what do I need to do based on this? Now, here, an action that you can take is to focus on 3 to 5 skills per role for immediate growth. Those skills will tell you the things you need to be learning, such that you are not just gathering certificate or taking skills randomly. They are targeted, and then you can focus on the required skills for the roles that you want to get into. Now, in planning your first steps, which like I said, that is one of the things we're going to be focusing on very much today. You need to understand that small actions create momentum because actions compound over time. Take, for example, if you write, say, maybe 50 words per day, in 10 days, you would have written 500 words. In 1 month, you would have written, say, maybe 1,500 words. That in itself already shows you how that actions compound over time. So in planning our first steps, we must not despise that, oh, these actions are too tiny. One of the things that I see that kills momentum a lot in developing career and even in life is that we want to do too many things at the same time without the capacity to do them. So taking things little by little is going to do for us 2 things. It's going to help us to be consistent in a way that we have the capacity to, and over time help us to build capacity to do more, in the same amount of time. All right, so one of the things we can do in terms of these small actions that we can take in planning our first steps is take short courses or certifications. I cannot tell you how short courses and certifications have the capacity to change the trajectory of our careers. Many people do not understand the power of just taking maybe a month or 2 months to take some learn something new, build a new skill, and add it to your arsenal of skills and capacity. And you will see how more competent we become and how more, proficient we are able to execute our job and our roles by just paying attention to these skills. So short courses and certifications, very important. I remember when I started my career in the energy sector, especially during the COVID-19, I used to take a lot of short courses. Currently, I'm taking courses. I have books that I read every day. I go online and I learn about financing. I read books on financing. I read books on negotiation. I read books on sales, and I also take courses on all of these domains that I've mentioned. So short courses are very important. In fact, last week I was speaking with our brand manager how that I need to get involved in a short course for about, I think, 6 weeks, and we're going to pay almost half a million naira for that course. Now, why do we do this? Because it's important for growth. See, the day we stop learning is the day we stop dying. And what that means is that we have stopped growing. So for anyone at any stage of our career, we need to constantly seek to develop and to learn more and more. Now, networking events or mentorship sessions. I'm going to say a lot about mentorship sessions because we have a mentorship session. You can find that at www.sledgementorship.com. Sledge as in a sledgehammer. So www.sledgementorship.com. Now, the reason we started this mentorship program is because we saw a fault, a crack in the development process of people coming into the energy sector, which is focused on energy. And but the way we have also planned it is for you to be able to accommodate people beyond the energy sector. Now, what was the crack? We saw that when we looked around us, people did not have a clear-cut pathway on how to go about their career. And so many people have been caught in uncertainty, have been caught in despair, and have been caught in confusion because they don't know the next thing to do. So what the Sledge Mentorship is aimed at doing is to take people through a practical process on understanding what they should do step by step, even help them to develop a roadmap for themselves. So we have templates within our own mentorship program, and we think that mentorship is very important because what a mentor does for you is that a mentor helps you to be able to see what is ahead without you necessarily being ahead. So that gives you an unfair advantage over those that you're in the same space or that you're in the same career bracket. So mentoring and mentorship can be your unfair advantage if only we will take advantage of that. Also networking events, because access to someone can give you information, insider information about something that is going to happen, and then you can be better prepared for it. And also, like I said, mentorship. So please, it's important that having taken courses, we are not just taking courses alone. People say, oh, I don't need anybody. Please, you need someone. You need someone that is ahead of you to guide you through what you're going through. There is no need for us to walk through the pitfalls that those ahead of us have gone through, whereas we can just leverage on their experience and avoid those pitfalls ourselves. So mentorship, networking, very powerful tools. And also we teach majority of these concepts in our mentorship program. Take, for example, mentoring. I remember a couple of weeks ago we were training volunteers within our organization, and volunteering was one of the things that we see as a way to improve your career development pathway. However, so we're talking about networking, and we said that networking is not to be done randomly. There is a strategic way to do networking. You go for an event, you cannot just afford to want to meet everybody in that event. You have to be strategic about who you are meeting, why you are meeting them, and we advise that you should do some background research about these individuals before you speak to them. That way your conversations are richer, you're able to leave a good impression, and also you're able to provide information. Based on a study that we did, we saw that there are two ways to leave a good impression with someone that you're networking with, or someone who is a mentor. First is that you provide an information that will be useful to their career, useful to their project, or useful to an area of their life. Second is that you go out on maybe a date with them where you share food. Now, I'm not saying a romantic date, but a date with them where you share food. That's one way to etch yourself in the memory of people. Now, volunteer project, I mentioned that just a while ago. Volunteering on project or internships are a good way for us to scale our career, especially for those that are just starting, or if you're trying to get into a new line of work. Volunteering on projects or internships can be very useful in helping to develop the skills, in helping to becoming conversant with the terms and the lay of the land in that sector, and being able to understand and connect with even people that are already working in that sector. That way we can also be a part of a credible project that is changing the lives of people, and also change and would also be able to impact our own career growth and trajectory. Also, we can do our own personal project, which could be a mini research blog post. I remember when I started my career, I had a project that's called Energy Gist. And Energy Gist today is still existing. In fact, we now do a a newsletter project that's metamorphosed in a lot of ways, but one of the things we now do now is newsletter. And when I started Energy Gist, I started by just writing blog posts. And what was the idea behind it? To simplify complex terms and complex ideologies about the energy sector into, simple terms that the common man, the day-to-day, people in their day-to-day lives can understand. And that way they can understand what their role as regarding the energy sector can be. And I'm not talking about people that are working in the energy sector. I'm talking about people that probably in the accounting or the finance space, and they will want to understand maybe new policies that are being released in the energy sector. And it was really successful. We did some webinars. In fact, we expanded all the way out to South Africa at a point. So pick one action skill to start within the next 30 days. So you pick one skill. In that skill, you ask yourself, what courses do I need to take to hone the skills, to become the best of myself in this case, to grow from where I am at least to a reasonable point concerning this skill. Then what events do I need to attend? Who can I meet that is already using this skill and I can learn from them? And what project can I volunteer on to, apply this skill that I am developing? Or what personal project can I do? This way, a perfect pathway to scaling our career. And also, if we do this, like I mentioned, it doesn't have to just be volunteering. Even for those that are at a solid place in their career but facing some uncertainty, they can apply this to go to the next step. These are basic rules that we can definitely always apply to get to the next step. Now, you also have to create an actionable timeline. So you have to break your roadmap into 6 to maybe 9 months or 6 to 12 month plans. For me personally, I break my yearly goals into quarterly plans, so I know what I'm doing from January to March, and then from April to June, and till the end of the year. So please break it into maybe quarterly chunks or monthly chunks. An example is for you to have maybe in the first 1 to 2 months to complete an online course on renewable energy fundamentals. That could be an example. That's an example. It could be for you, maybe you want to learn a skill. Maybe you want to learn data analysis, and you look for a course, or even you go to a training and you learn it properly. Another is maybe say you want to, maybe that's your first 1 to 2 months. In the month 3 to 4 now, you can say you want to attend a networking event and find a mentor, and you work at it, because nothing is random in career development. It's intentional. It's something that has to be given a lot of time and effort towards making sure that it succeeds. And in your month 5 to 6, you can apply your skills to a small personal project, or you volunteer on a project, and this way you're improving your visibility. Also, about visibility and positioning, we have spoken about that in our past videos. So we created, to end this session, we created a resource list for those that are following us and will be watching this video. First is a personal career plan, and all of these resources are resources that you have access to in our mentorship program. But should you be interested in any of these resources, please drop a comment and reach out to us. We will definitely send it to you. We have a personal career plan template for everyone, development template for everyone that will be interested. Now, this template could be, but then beyond this, there are several other templates. It could be template for skill mapping, template for tracking experience, template for action steps and deadline. These are things that everyone should have, and we train people on this in our program. So you have quarterly reflection and adjustment. This is also something. So having developed your roadmap and you have created a template on how to go about them, you have divided them into chunks, maybe say 6-month chunks or 12-month chunks or quarterly chunks. You also need to be able to reflect on them, make sure that you have a way to track development, that you're not just taking those courses. You have to ask yourself, what has changed in my understanding of the energy sector? What has changed in the way I execute my project? And what is the next thing we must come? In fact, I say there's something I said a couple of days ago to a group of persons that I was speaking with, I was addressing, and I told them, I said, as in life and even in spiritual growth, we must constantly ask, how do I improve myself? What is the next thing? We must constantly ask that question. So we must ask ourselves, reflect, how do I become better in this thing that I am doing right now? And what adjustments do I need to make? This would put us on the track to progress. So as we close up this series, we need to learn to break our long-term goals into measurable steps. We also must focus on skill gaps and gain practical experience. Practical experience is very important. It's why we mention volunteering or internships, and also mentoring. They would put us on that path of practical experience, and we must track our progress and adjust them properly. Now, I want to give every one of us an assignment of some sort. For everyone that is watching this, you need to ask yourself, what is one concrete step that I will take on LinkedIn or IG or in my career that I've not been taken before and I will consistently take? Write out that one step, draft out how you will execute it, put a deadline to when you will execute it, and get it done. Once again, thank you for watching this edition of the Energy Career Circle, and we'll see you on the next one. Yeah, bye.
Energy Career Circle, featuring Ayodeji Steven.